The 3rd of July 2023, you're very welcome back, folks, to RTE, Real True Education, Not Fake News. And we're going to have a look at the news roundup for tonight. Now, I was taking in bales of silage today, and it got so cold. I just had a shirt and no cap on, and I have the doors off the tractor so that I can hop in and out easily, and normally you're nice and warm in there. It's grand weather. It's the 3rd of July after all. I had to go in and get this jumper, a woolly jumper, and I was considering getting a coat. I just didn't go that far, an anorak, but I had to get a cap, and I left my woolly cap somewhere, and I had to wear this one. So if I had a woolly cap, I'd have been wearing it. It was absolutely very, very cold. There was an odd shower of rain, but it wasn't raining all the time. And there was plenty of bright spells. So this thing about the hot weather is a load of nonsense and a diabolical lie put about by RTE radio, television, TV3, and all of those as some kind of a payoff from somebody paying them. We now know they seem to be all corrupt. Okay, all corrupt. Now, so the big news around the country is this RTE scandal, and them all suspected of taking huge amounts of money by fraudulent accounting and barter accounts and all this. And it's in the paper today that there's going to be an audit. Now, what I will notice, and I'll bet you any money, there'll be no Gardaí, there'll be no police brought in on this. Several of these offences are criminal offences under the Companies Act. Why aren't the Garda fraud investigation section drafted in there? There is evidence that there's mismanagement of the accounts. And it's admitted. Surely there's evidence to get a warrant and go in and search and go in and look at it. And anyway, it's under the prerogative of the Minister, Eamon Ryan. Surely he can authorise that RTE be checked and its accounts be checked and all of this. Anyway, for the moment, there's talk of an audit. And of course, the auditor will have to be careful, because there's going to be a lot of attention on this. Now, there are some people saying that this is just a cover for the hate speech law. It's to keep people's mind off the hate speech law. I won't go to say that, but it does have that effect that it takes people's mind off the hate speech law, which is currently about to be passed soon if they get their way. Now, with RTE, there's talking of capping the salaries of presenters at 195,000. And in TV3, Pat Kenny got 900,000. This is grossly obnoxious for what are grossly obnoxious people, in my view. Now, the ordinary journalists going around the country and coming on the radio at night, giving the various newses, I don't include them. I want to make that clear. They're just trying to earn a living, doing the job they want. But that's the trouble with Irish public life. You have corruption over it, and only corrupt people will get up to the top. That's the policy of government. They don't always succeed. Doesn't mean everyone at the top is corrupt. But there's enough of them corrupt to do the damage. We had a Bord Pleanála official jailed last week for corruption, for some wrongdoing. I don't know what it was. So I say move them out. Move them out. We're never going to get balanced reporting. We're never going to get the Conservative side, the anti-abortion side, the anti-Europe side even. We're never going to get that with anything this government does. See, so, but the thing is, they are going to get it very hard now to force people to pay a television licence. Now, woke voters rely on the public service a lot. The government has the option of what it can pay public servants, and while public servants do a good job by and large, there are sometimes a bit overpaid, and they get all the votes. Fine Gael and Fianna Fáil get all the votes, although it looks like Sinn Féin is going to reap a lot of votes, and normally you wouldn't get the public service voting for them. So we'll see how that goes. I'm just bringing it to your attention. Now, the trouble in France is getting worse by the day, and now Macron is saying that he's going to cut down the internet. He's going to stop the internet because it's been organised on the internet. Now, just think of it. A modern, developed nuclear NATO power with nuclear electricity generation and all that, a modern swanky power with all their ululu and duvet-do and all the rest of it, parlez-vous, is in this state tonight, and it's all over. They let in the migrants. What did they expect? I told everyone, I told Ireland, this is what you get. You cannot let the half of Africa into your country and expect those people to just lie down and be passive. That's not how it works. Once they get a grip at all, they're going to riot. They're going to demand more than everybody else. And they have a totally different perception on what's right and wrong and what the law is. This young man had several convictions. He was totally disregarding the traffic laws in France. The policeman shouldn't have shot him. We don't know the full circumstances, but I don't think anyone should be shot for motoring things unless they're about to do something. However, he was going to drive away, and if he killed a woman and her 3 children wheeling a pram, there'd be outcry. So you can't have it every way. Now, the reaction is not all migrants. There's a big heap of the woke left all out in France protesting tonight, burning, looting, and doing untold damage. Now, it's no harm to make a point that there is a school of thought that says that the cause of this is the American CIA, Central Intelligence Agency. And in 1969, President de Gaulle went against America, and there was riots all over the street, and he had to resign. Now, he was very old at the time. Now, I'm not saying that's the case, but it's funny how the minute Macron applies to join the BRICS movement, which is trying to dump out the American dollar, and has made statements that there's too much connection with America and that France cannot be a vassal of the United States. And we all know the CIA are masters at provoking riots and change of government. They're trying it in Russia, they're trying it all over, and they did it in Ukraine. And they're very powerful at this. How they actually do it beats me. Do they pay off people? How would they manage to create a rebellion in Ireland today? I'd wonder how the CIA could do it, but they have been doing it. Now, I'm not saying that's happened in Macron, but there is a school of thought which says that it's very peculiar how all this happens when Macron opposes America. But then there has been a yellow vest movement in France, and they have a tradition of protesting. Anyway, the mayor's house was attacked. I wouldn't like to see anyone killed or badly injured, but whoo, good rioters. That's the stuff for him. He was attacked. And he says, I never imagined that the like of this had happened. What the hell have we been telling them? What has Marine Le Pen been telling them? If you do let in all these people, what are you going to have? He has to learn the hard way. I never imagined this had happened. Well, the problem is a limitation on his imagination. It is not anything else. It's simply that this is the inevitable result of mass migration. And the people of Paris, the people of France, voted for Macron. They had the opportunity to vote for Le Pen. They voted for Macron, and this is what they got. In America, although I'm doubtful about the American election for president in 2020, in the end of the day, a lot of them did vote for Biden. And you see what they're getting. So damn well good enough for you folks. And I've said it here already. The quicker the Irish Fine Gael and Fianna Fáil supporters are horsed out of their homes and the homes given to migrants, the better. I'll cheer them on. And that's the thing to do. So anyway, it's great to see the consequences of this stupid action and this highly dangerous action. I have no sympathy for the French people at all. No French sympathy for them at all. I know there are decent conservatives. They're going to have to be eaten out of bins, and that'll what probably happen to them, and the sooner the better. And as I say, de Gaulle did oppose America, and there was riots. I wouldn't trust the CIA not to be involved in some of this. Money speaks all languages. So if you're migration, you're going to have mayhem, and then the police are getting a terrible time. I mean, unless you're a very tough person, who'd want to be in the police? And that policeman could be sent to jail now. Who wants to join the police to end up in jail? What other job would you end up in jail for joining the police? My advice is stay out of it. Let them go, and it's only a matter of time till the Irish young people joining the police today will find themselves in the same situation and having to use their batons to beat farmers and beat decent people, while these crowd get away with blue murder. Now we move to the Ukraine, and my predictions so far have been pretty good. Both sides are fairly jaded at this stage. Both sides are jaded. Most of the weapons sent to the Ukraine by the West and New American have been destroyed by Russian drones, identifying them and then bombing them. Most have been destroyed. They're sending millions of pounds in weapons, and they're hitting them with explosive missiles and damaging them that they're beyond repair. They're running out of people in Russia because Prigozhin has gone off the scene, and they're running out of people in Ukraine, and they're running out of military people. By right, the foreigners that went over to fight, now is the time they should be going. It's not in the beginning. Now is the time. So they're jaded out. Both sides are fagged out, if I could use that expression, or they're jaded out. They're jaded out. They have very little more to give. Now, Prigozhin marched on Putin, marched on Moscow, and that's a red line in the sand. And Putin reckons there was a few of his generals and a few people ready to help Prigozhin, and he's creating a purge on them. He's arresting them and all of that. Prigozhin is gone to Belarus, and I think he's not able to get the money, the vast amounts of money that he was paid by Russian, out of Russian banks. He's not able to collect his money. I seen him on a video there where he could only get a small amount of his money. Now, the Russian soldiers within the Ukraine itself are complaining they're not being fed and they're not being supplied with ammunition, and it looks like there's a total inability to actually work out the logistics. Meanwhile, the Russian economy is not in good shape either. So the CIA is big time trying to unseat Russia, and NATO and them are part of that to get Russia broken up into small pieces. And NATO now fears that Prigozhin could threaten the Baltic states, Latvia, Lithuania and Estonia, which are bordering Belarus, and that's going to create another front. But NATO has plenty of troops. It can defend those countries fairly good. So I believe, Russian soldiers are getting a raw deal as well. Putin he'll hold on by pure terror. It's very possible that he rang up Prigozhin when Prigozhin was marching on Moscow, and he marched on Moscow, and he rang him up and he said, if you come any further, not alone will I kill every one of you, not one of you will survive, I'll kill your families, I'll kill all belonging to you, not one will survive. I'd say that is exactly what happened. And a few Russian aircraft, including the helicopter, flew over Prigozhin, and the Wagner shot them down. 4 or 5 Russian air pilots were killed. So it's serious stuff when the airlines begin to get killed, air pilots. And it shows that it wasn't a scheme between Putin and Prigozhin, or nobody to be killed. It wasn't that. It was Prigozhin marching, and not all belonging to him marched, not all his troops marched. Now he's getting no more money. I doubt if he'll appear around Ukraine again, and that should be an opportunity for Ukraine to do a bit of battling back. Maybe that would work, but I think it's going to be tough. It was all an American plan to unseat and break up Russia into its component parts. The thing was engineered from the beginning with the breaking of the Minsk agreement, and the whole thing, it was engineered to do this. When they got Biden into office, it's possible Trump might not have been able to stay this off, but that's not what happened. And a woman in Ukraine was sentenced to 10 years in prison for ringing her sister in Russia. She's a Russian-connected woman. She's a sister in Russia, and she rang her up to tell her the news and how things is getting on, and then arrested her and gave her 10 years in jail. So that'll tell you about Zelensky and what he is. Now, Zelensky met Greta Thunberg and Mike Pence, who'd be a conservative anti-abortion man. Pence is obviously for him in that way and all that. And Greta is the climate nutter, age 17 or 18 now. So she got her in there as well. He didn't invite me over, or I'd have told him a few home truths fairly quick. But it shows you that a 16-year-old schoolgirl can do that. It's something else. And there's no doubt that Zelensky would hand all over to the World Economic Forum, the IMF, the Soros Foundation, the whole lot of the woke cultural Marxist, all this agenda would all be immediately implemented in the Ukraine, and they'd grab all the resources with BlackRock developments and all. BlackRock, a big finance crowd, they're not doing well. They're not doing well if, financially in America. And if they could get into Russia and get a heap, or into Ukraine and grab a heap of development money and grant money, it'd help them along. They're not going to get all Ukraine. They're not going to get Crimea back. And I don't think they'll get the Donetsk or that other region back either. I've said in the beginning there are very close parallels between Ireland and Ukraine. Very, very close in the way it's divided and all of that. And I think that's the way it's going to go. And that's going to be frustrating for the left woke crowd. I do sympathise with the Ukraine people who've lost so many. It is so sad. So, but this is it. This is what happens. This idea of a nation state with a proud tradition that I grew up with, looking after its borders, deciding who comes in and who doesn't, that's all been killed. So you can't have that kind of state unless we can change the woke, cultural Marxist way of doing things, and that's not possible right now. They say that in France, if Marine Le Pen became the president, it'll be 2027. That's 4 years from now before she becomes the president. That's no good. That's no good. Biden has another 2 years very near, 2020 to 2024. He's a year and 3/4. He'd do some damage in that time. I mean, we can't look any further back than 3 months. Now, it'll put the Greens from shouting anyway, and it has dampened them down. This green hysteria and RTE's troubles has dampened them a wee bit for now. And the thing about it is, becoming a public servant, particularly a policeman or a military person in any Western country, I think it's not very wise. It's going to get worse. It's going to be worse unless the people vote for Conservative candidates, and even at that, it's going to be a good few years till they get a say. The harm will be done. The whole place will be, the people of the country will be changed. There'll be civil war, and who the hell wants to be a policeman in a civil war if you could get a living any other way? Folks, that's the news from RTE on this 3rd of July 2023. We'll see you back for something else soon, and give me a thumbs up if you agree, a thumbs down if you don't agree, and please feel free to comment underneath. And the only thing I ask you is, if you comment, make it logical. Do not expect readers or me to know what's in your head. Write it in plain English what you want to say. Bye. We'll see you back. Thank you.